Why does Gen X seem so willing to stay single, while everyone else keeps acting like being alone is a problem to fix? Are they emotionally closed off, or are they simply no longer willing to pay the price of the wrong relationship? At some point, many Gen Xers stopped asking, "Will someone choose me?" and started asking, "Will this person protect the peace I fought so hard to build?" That change is not small. It comes from years of watching relationships break people, drain money, destroy trust, and turn homes into places of tension instead of rest. So before calling them lonely, difficult, or afraid of commitment, maybe we should ask a harder question. What if Gen X is not avoiding love? What if they are avoiding the version of love that once cost them too much? To understand that choice, we have to look at where this generation is standing now. Gen X is usually defined as people born from 1965 through 1980, which means many are now in their late 40s, 50s, or early 60s. This is not a group looking at love from the beginning of adulthood anymore. Some have already been married, divorced, disappointed, betrayed, or forced to rebuild a life that once looked stable from the outside. Others grew up watching parents stay together without warmth, separate with damage, or live in homes where silence carried more weight than honesty. That kind of history changes the way a person sees partnership. Being with someone no longer automatically means being safe, seen, or understood. A full house can still feel emotionally empty. A shared bed can still feel lonely. For many in Gen X, single life does not always feel like failure. It can feel like finally controlling the emotional weather inside their own home. Pew identifies Generation X as those born from 1965 through 1980. Self-reliance became part of the Gen X nervous system early. Many grew up with more freedom, less supervision, and fewer adults constantly asking how everything felt. School ended, the house key came out, food had to be figured out, boredom had to be handled, and small problems usually had to be solved without turning them into a crisis. Not every Gen Xer had the same childhood, but the emotional pattern is familiar. Handle it, keep moving, don't expect rescue too quickly. That kind of upbringing can create capable adults, yet it also changes the rules of intimacy. A relationship is not seen as a place to be completed. It has to be a place that adds stability, honesty, respect, and real safety. When love starts to bring confusion, pressure, control, or constant emotional labor, distance becomes more attractive than attachment. This is not always fear of connection. Sometimes it is the result of learning too well how to survive alone. One of the strongest reasons behind this choice is simple. The wrong relationship has a cost, and Gen X has seen that cost too closely. Divorce, separation, custody battles, financial loss, emotional burnout, infidelity, resentment, and years of quiet unhappiness are not abstract ideas by midlife. These experiences have names, faces, addresses, court papers, bank accounts, and memories attached to them. Pew Research Center reported that more than 1.8 million Americans divorced in 2023, and about 1/3 of Americans who have ever been married have experienced divorce. For Gen X, numbers like that do not feel distant. They can look like a sibling starting over, a coworker hiding private collapse behind a normal workday, a friend dividing assets after decades, or a parent whose marriage taught the child what love should never become. After seeing enough of that, romance stops being judged only by chemistry. The question becomes sharper. This is where many people misread Gen X. From the outside, the standards can look too high, too guarded, or too cold. Underneath that, something more practical is happening. Peace has become valuable. A quiet room, a paid bill, a predictable routine, a clean boundary, a weekend without emotional conflict, a home where nobody has to walk on eggshells. These things start to matter more than the appearance of being chosen. Younger love can mistake drama for passion because intensity feels alive. Later in life, intensity without safety begins to look like a warning sign. Experience teaches the difference between chemistry and compatibility. Attention is not loyalty. Desire is not respect. A warm beginning does not guarantee a stable life. Someone wanting access to you does not mean they know how to protect what you have rebuilt. For many Gen Xers, no relationship is better than one that turns peace into another survival job. The practical side matters as much as the emotional one. In midlife, love is not just a feeling between two people. It touches money, housing, children, aging parents, health, retirement, debt, privacy, habits, and the future. A bad relationship at 25 can break the heart. A bad relationship at 50 can break the structure of an entire life. Research on gray divorce makes this point even stronger. A 2022 study described how divorce after age 50 has grown dramatically over the past half-century, and noted that 36% of U.S. adults getting divorced are now age 50 or older. That matters because many Gen Xers are already inside that age range. The risk is not theoretical anymore. A new relationship can affect property, savings, adult children, caregiving duties, and the stability someone may have spent decades protecting. So the question is no longer only, do I feel something? It becomes, can this person be trusted with my time, my home, my resources, my body, my sleep, my routines, and my future? That may sound unromantic, but it is often wisdom earned the hard way. For some, staying single is also a way to protect identity. After years of being a spouse, parent, provider, caretaker, fixer, or emotional shock absorber, solitude can become the first place where life finally belongs to the person living it. The house feels the way they want it to feel. Money can be spent without constant explanation. Sleep is not interrupted by tension beside them. Silence does not mean punishment. Routine does not have to be negotiated every day. From the outside, that freedom may look ordinary. To someone who has spent years carrying too much, it can feel like oxygen. This is not selfishness in the shallow sense. It is recovery from a life where love often meant losing pieces of the self. The message is not always, I never want love again. More often it is, I will not disappear again just to keep someone close. At the same time, single life should not be romanticized as if it never hurts. Peaceful solitude and hidden loneliness can look very similar from the outside. Some Gen Xers are genuinely content alone. Others are protected, stable, and still quietly tired. Independence can be strength, but it can also become armor when old pain never gets examined. A person can become so used to handling everything alone that receiving care starts to feel suspicious. Real closeness may seem dangerous, not because love is unwanted, but because past experience taught the body to expect a cost. That is the deeper question worth asking. Is this solitude chosen from peace, or built from a wound that learned how to stay calm? There is nothing wrong with loving your own space. The danger begins only when the door stays locked because the past convinced you every visitor will eventually damage the room. So the shocking reason Gen X chooses to stay single is not that love no longer matters. In many cases, love matters enough that the wrong version is no longer acceptable. A peaceful room can feel better than a relationship that turns home into another place to endure. A quiet life can feel healthier than proving to society that someone is standing beside you. There is no need to call a person broken just because the chase no longer looks attractive. Sometimes single life is experience. Sometimes it is self-respect. Sometimes it is a boundary built after too many years of giving chances to people who did not protect what was fragile. Maybe Gen X is not afraid of love. Maybe this generation has finally learned that being chosen means very little if it costs the peace it took a lifetime to find. Do you think Gen X chooses single life because they fear love, or because they finally understand the cost of the wrong relationship?